Hi, Eric. This is Sylvia, a member of the global organizing team for Open Source Circular Economy Days 2016. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to our community. And we're very thankful for your time in sharing with us your experience with Yardfarmers show, with sustainability and in general, and a few of words about your view on combining open source with circular economy. So Eric, please let us know about yourself.
Sure, I would be happy. Thank you, Sylvia, for inviting me to have this conversation as well. But briefly, I've been at Worldwatch for about 14 years now, looking heavily at consumption and really the culture around consumerism and how do we move beyond that. For if we don't solve that question, we as a species of 7 billion going on to 9.5 or more billion people, we just can't really thrive. We're putting too much pressure on the planet. So I've looked at a number of different topics within that realm, consumerism, degrowth. Most recently, after years of doing research and writing, I've tried to explore ways to communicate this in a more popular forms. First, a board game that looked at climate change, and now this reality television show, Yardfarmers. And in a nutshell, what it is it's really following 6 millennial Americans as they move back home with their parents to farm their parents' yards. And now if you're not familiar with how many yards we have in the United States, it's our 5th largest crop in acreage, if you actually add up all the yards. So that's a real waste of a resource. It's not only just a waste, but it's actually unsustainably managed. All the lawn mowing, all the lawn chemicals and fertilizers. So taking that and converting that into a major source of food security, community-based food security, livelihoods, and healthy, sustainable food is a key path forward. We as the United States, who are way over consuming the world's resources, have to degrow our economy, as unpopular as that's going to be. But if we really recognize that farming is one of the most long-standing professions, and so few of us are farmers now, if we can start rebuilding that so that 10, 20, 30% of Americans once again get some or all of their livelihood from farming, and not farming with the giant tractors and the GMO crops, but small scale, smallholder trading, open sourced seeds that they've bred in their community and made more resilient as the climate is changing, as local conditions are changing. That could be a really resilient and sustainable path forward for millions of Americans.
For sure, it would prevent the enormous waste that we create in the agricultural chain. My understanding is that at least in the United States, we waste 40% of the food that we produce, and that is absolutely devastating. Now, I would argue that most of what we produce, especially in big agribusiness, it's not food, but we still waste a lot of materials and labor. We use a lot of energy, we use a lot of fuel just for it to go to waste. Many of our local organizers in the OSCE days will work on food days. So it's one of our main challenges, because obviously it is a problem for everybody. It is a problem that we don't allocate food properly. So there are people, including in the developed world, in the first world, that do not have access to food. And I was wondering how much of your work addresses the issue of food deserts in the United States.
it's a key component of the vision of Yard Farmers. So, I mean, Yard Farmers, the goal of it is really to exploit our obsession with reality television and direct it into a useful path, right? It's one thing to watch celebrities make fools of themselves, and I'm sure that is good television for some. But to take a show and follow millennials who are moving back in with their parents, and I mean, there's going to be conflict there, and good TV as they fight with parents, as they kind of re-enter the multi-generational household. There will be conflict with neighbors as they convert the beautiful manicured lawns into farms. But there will be a lot of educational benefit to this show, teaching about food deserts, teaching about the strange juxtaposition in America of having almost 2/3 of our population overweight or obese, and at the same time having many people undernourished. They are eating toxic food that is not nourishing. So we're eating more of it. We're becoming fat. We're having heart disease, diabetes, all sorts of health problems. Even though we have enough, even as we don't have enough of the micronutrients to make us well. So when you have people instead starting to grow food, starting to be pioneers, demonstrating that we can have sustainable and enriching livelihoods by growing food in the suburbs, that really helps to model a new path, a path where food waste would be far less common. I mean, if you're spending all of your day's energy growing food, the idea of throwing it in the garbage instead of eating it, that your values are going to change very quickly when you understand the inherent value and difficulty of growing food.
That's an exceptional point, because it will also make people understand how hard farming labor is and stop demanding that food be cheap and cheaper, because that shouldn't be possible, right? We completely devalue one of the hardest works on the planet, which is in farming. So I think this is an added advantage for what you do. So it all sounds wonderful. So where are the people that are? Where are you with the show? Is everything completed? When can we view it?
That's an open question. An open question that we're still working on. So we had a call for contestants this past summer and selected 6 young Americans from around the country, and really chose for a diversity of not just geography and people, but even of experience. Some hadn't farmed at all. One, our veteran of the group, this is her 2nd year as a yard farmer. And she's moving forward. She's done a short video for our website on teaching kind of basic seeding skills. And we're doing more of those videos now. But the challenge is finding a channel or a distributor who understands the value of this television. The original idea of this actually came from a little bit of frustration as I was studying consumerism. I was noticing more and more people becoming obsessed with this social game called Farmville, played on Facebook. And all these people were spending hours and hours pretending to farm. And so I wrote an open letter to the company, Zynga, and encouraged them, if they really wanted to do something useful, they should create a reality television show and really teach American youth to farm. Of course, no answer came to that letter, but the idea stuck in my own mind, and I identified some foundational support that we could create a trailer, create the kind of structure for this show to see if that we could interest a channel to be a partner and get this idea out there. Again, I think it'll be a fun show, but I think deep down it will help to prepare the millennials of America for a very different future. We talk a lot about Gen Z or the I generation, and how high tech everything's going to be. But in truth, I think we're going to be going way back as far as our levels of technology. We will have to have far more farmers and more artisans and local economy gurus because that's what the earth is going to demand. And so the more we can use today's technologies to seed that next stage of our economic path, the better it will be for the communities of the United States and around the world.
More makers than chatterers.
Absolutely.
But the good news is that a lot of youngsters are becoming makers, which is really what is happening with our community. A lot of people will do hands-on stuff. They're very passionate about working with their hands, and not only with your hands, but you have to create a concept, make a design. So you're working in between low tech and high tech in all stages, and that is really wonderful, including a lot in farming and food. So that is very encouraging. Speaking of your difficulties, and we also have a lot of difficulties in gaining traction with the mainstream. Maybe you can give us a few words of encouragement on how to persevere with these good causes, even if things do not work out as we would hope to, or as fast we would hope to.
That's a tough one. I think the thing that kept me going all through these last 2 years, where I've put a lot of energy into trying to give birth to this show. Every once in a while, I'd find someone who really got excited by it, or even some of the applicants described how in their application that I've been wanting to yard farm for a while now, but my parents always said this is ridiculous. But now that there's a show that says, that this is cool, they get it now. They finally get it. So those little moments kept me energized. The stories I read about famous TV directors, with many years of experience, describing how so much of a program depends on just pure luck, luck of when they submitted, luck of the actors who got interested. All of that really makes it clear that this was a low odds of much of what we're doing is low probability success. There's $500 billion a year spent on marketing consumer goods that are directly in conflict with a lot of our vision and where we need to go. So it's a hard battle, but I think remembering the positive kind of connections, conversations, the other kindred spirits who are doing similar and related work, I think that's the key piece.
Which is how we got connected, and the same it's true of the whole OSCE community. So even if it's slow, this change is definitely happening. We are building an alternative system slowly but surely. And it's a pity that they spend all those billions of dollars. They have zero impact on me and many others. Too bad that they're wasting that money. But again, there is all this alternative that is slowly building, but clearly getting traction. And I'm very delighted that our community is now connected with you and with the Yardfarmers show. So let's continue the conversation. If you have time, please watch some of our events or get on our forum where we will continue to exchange knowledge. We don't stop with the events. And great success with the show. We'll also look for people who might help you continue it and present it. So I want to thank again Erik Assadourian for talking to us, for encouraging us, and for his great work at Worldwatch Institute and in general to change the trajectory of our consumerist society. Thank you, Erik.
And thank you, Sylvia. It was great to be here today, and I look forward to being part of the conversation during the OSCE days.
Thank you.